campers. I feel like this scarecrow in the Wizard of Oz here, you know, which way do I go? But here's something I'll point out. You see right here, it says Twinway, but then in parentheses it says AT. Because up here in the whites, a lot of the trails have names other than the AT. So there's other trails that go through the whites that are also the AT. So the guides will tell you, for instance, Garfield Ridge Trail, this is the AT, but this is going south. Okay, that's where I came from. This is the Twinway AT. So from this point, the trail going south, the AT going south is known as the Garfield Ridge Trail. From this point going north, it's known as the Twinway Trail, but it's still the AT. So you'll still see the white blazes. In fact, if you can see the tree right there, there's still a white blaze on it, but it can be confusing if you're not familiar with the trail names. The guide will tell you. I'm going to get walking here while I talk to you. The guide will explain that a little bit, and it has a certain nomenclature that it can indicate to you. This is the AT, but it's known as this from this point south, and it's known as this other name from this point north. So it's just something to be aware of. It can get confusing when you see a sign that says, "Oh, you're on the Twinway Trail." You're like, "What? What? What happened to the AT? How'd I get off the trail?" No, you're okay. You can always check your GPS too, but just remember up here that the trails take on different names in different sections of the AT as you pass through the whites. Something to keep in mind. So I want to tell you about my work for stay experience at the Galehead Hut. I'm going to walk real slow while I talk. It's fairly level here for a little while. So I got there at 3:40, and 4 o'clock is when they start taking work for stay. And I saw a bunch of other people with backpacks out on the front porch when I got there. I was like, oh no, there's other people here who want to do work for stay, but I didn't recognize any of them. So I thought, maybe they're not here for work for stay. So I went in, put down my stuff, used the restroom, and then went, could see the people in the kitchen, and I caught someone's eye. He came over and I said, are you taking work for stay yet? He said 4 o'clock. I said, oh, okay. And then he goes, you're the first to ask. So, I'm basically first in line. So anyway, 4 o'clock came around and I said, I'm ready to help. And he said, okay, we're not going to need you till after dinner. We have a full crew. We don't need you to help wash dishes. We just need you to wipe down the tables and sweep up the floor after dinner. I said, perfect. He said 7:30. I said, great. So I went outside, hung out, chatted with some of the guests who were staying there, who've been hiking. And just so you know, the hut's $150 a night. $150. And what do you get for $150? Well, you get no electricity. You get no hot water. So no showers. You get no mattress on your bed. You get no linens. Of course, no laundry. It's basically like living in a shelter that has 4 sides, because you are on a hard wooden platform. You got to bring your own mattress, inflatable mattress, whatever. Yeah. No napkins at dinner, because it's a carry-in, carry-out facility, meaning they don't want a bunch of paper trash, obviously. There's no hand towels or any other way to dry your hands in the bathroom. So, it's a lot of money to pay. You do get breakfast and dinner, but $150 for that? No, thank you. So what I did, oops, geez, bug almost flew my ear. So about 7:15 or so, after their naturalist gave a talk, I went in and said, hey, you ready, for me to do stuff? Because the dining room was mostly empty. People had left and gone outside, milling about. And he said, oh yeah. Gives me the spray bottle and the cloth and a broom and a dustpan. And so I get to work. But as I'm cleaning tables and starting to sweep up, people start sitting down to play card games or board games or drink coffee after dinner. So half the tables were full, so I had to stop. And I I went outside to get my stuff, and Jake, the guy who, one of the crew members, sticks his head out and he gives me a thumbs up, and I go, oh, thanks, but I said, I'm only half done. So people start sitting down to play cards and stuff. And I said, I'll finish up after I eat. And he said, okay. So he goes, I'll bring your dinner out. I said, great. And now the dinner was a lasagna, vegetarian bean and mushroom soup, focaccia bread, salad, and some kind of dessert. Something great. Veggie lasagna and bean and mushroom soup is perfect. So I'm sitting there waiting, and here he comes with a plate, and he goes, we're all out of the lasagna and the soup, but how does a pulled pork sandwich sound instead? And I go, oh, I'm vegetarian. And he's like, oh, I didn't know that. And I said, yeah, I didn't think I needed to mention it because the food was all vegetarian tonight. I didn't know you were going to run out. I didn't even know that was a possibility that you could run out. It's family style. So anyway, after that little misunderstanding, he goes, let me see what else we got. And he goes in the kitchen and, boy, bug. He says, well, we got these vegetarian enchiladas. He says, is one of those okay? I said, sure. That's great. And I said, any kind of bread, it's fine with me, whatever. So he has to reheat it. So that took about 20 minutes in the oven. And even then it was only like half warm. It wasn't like hot. So I ate it, tasted good. But he also included like peas and green beans and corn. And I don't like peas or green beans. So I was taking chunks of the enchilada and just taking a couple of the green beans and masking it and just eating it all at once. And I ate everything. I don't want to be rude and leave food, especially free food, even though I worked for it. So I finished that up, and then sorry, it's getting really steep. It's like a stairway. I want to stop, actually. Crikey. So had my meal, and then I cleaned up again after I ate. Cleaned the tabletops again, and swept and straightened up the benches and everything, wiped everything down. And Jake comes out when I'm done. I'm like, here's the dustpan with the rest of the stuff I couldn't get the first time around. He goes, oh, great. And he looks out, he goes, boy, it hasn't looked this good in a long time. I go, yeah, I do a good job. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So anyway, he was impressed. And I didn't get to bed till almost 10. Because, by the time I finished eating, it was like 8:30 or so. And then I had to get ready for bed. There's still people milling about. I had to blow up my mattress and do all my evening stuff. It was like 9:45 or something by the time, almost 10. Slept okay. Somebody was up, for an hour after lights out, and heard doors closing and stuff. And then about 4:30, I woke up and I had my alarm set for 5. And I thought I'll just go back to sleep, but I had to go to the bathroom, so I got up, used the toilet, and some other guy got up to use the toilet, and I'm like, uh-oh, people are gonna start hearing other people up, and it's starting, it's light out by then. So 5 o'clock, someone came out, and she was leaving. Actually, she was getting an early start. She had to go home for work or something. So I was like, oh boy. So I did my stretches quick, my foot and leg stretches. I did those quickly, and just started packing up, getting dressed, and having my breakfast, and using the facilities. And that was it. And I left. I said goodbye to one of the girls. I said, hey, I'm going to get going. It's supposed to rain later, and I got a long day, almost 12-mile day. So that was it. That was my experience. It was okay. I would have preferred the lasagna and the bean and mushroom soup and the salad. But, at least they had something for me. Okay, I'm partway up the mountain, and all of a sudden all the birds stop singing. Totally dead quiet. I don't know if it's me, if there's an animal nearby. That's really weird. It's totally quiet. Oh, I just heard a distant bird. Huh. Anyway, that was weird. All of a sudden everything just stopped and went quiet. And I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? Okay. All right, well, I'm moving on, I guess. That was weird. So I've been hiking for just over an hour. I've only covered 3/4 of a mile because it's been straight uphill and rocky. But you'll notice the trees next to me are getting shorter. It's a good sign. That means I'm almost to the top because that's the tree line, the alpine level where the trees don't grow above 8 feet tall. And most of these trees are looking like they're 5 to 7 feet tall. So I'm close, very close to the summit. In fact, I think it's just within 100 yards here. But that was a tough climb. It's pretty steep. I'll show a view once I get to the very top up here in a moment. So that's where I'm headed. Zealand Falls Hut, 6.2 miles. I'm gonna get there probably lunchtime and I'll have some soup while I'm there. I'll slowly turn as I talk so you get a good view. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Look over my shoulder. So, plan for today. 11.8 miles total to the Ethan Pond campsite. That seems reasonable only because, and I say that because yesterday was 10.4 miles and that just about killed me. That was a brutal 10.4 miles, boy. I was spent when I got there to the Galehead Hut. So 11.8, why am I going farther? Well, based on the terrain profile, it looks like there's only 2 climbs, and I just finished one because I'm here at the summit of this is South Twin Mountain I'm on. And the last 5 miles between Zealand Falls Hut and the campsite where I'm planning on staying, that's fairly flat. The elevation profile shows it's very little elevation change. Literally less than 100 feet the entire 5 miles. So I'm hoping that that'll be fairly easy walking. It could be really rocky and that could slow me down, but it's better than climbing up rocky, really steep. Like I said, for an hour I was climbing up and I only did 3/4 of a mile. So that's a pretty slow pace. That would take me like 15 hours to get to the campsite if I was going that slow the whole time. So in any event, I'll share that shot with you. That's just unbelievable. Look at the mountains there. I mean, I could see 5 or 6 layers of mountains going back. I bet you, if it was a little bit clearer, I bet you I could see into Vermont and Maine in either direction. I could see across the whole state of New Hampshire, I'll bet. In any event, that's my plan. I'm going to take it easy. I got an early start, 6:15. I didn't stick around for breakfast leftovers. I would have had to wait till 8 o'clock for that. It just wasn't worth it to me. So that's it. I'm heading down to Zealand Falls Hut, and hopefully I'll be there early afternoon between 12 and 1 maybe, depending on the terrain. See you there. Okay, 2 hours into my hiking, as you can see, the trail has gotten nice and flat, fairly. Still some rocks and some boardwalks, some mud, but this is way easier than yesterday, at least for the moment. I know there's other more challenging stuff ahead, but it's nice walking right now. I'm 4.9 miles from the Zealand Falls Hut, so that's a solid 2.5 hours over easy terrain like this. That would put me there, gosh, between 11 and 11:30. I was thinking I'd get there between 12 and 1. I guess it just depends on the overall terrain between here and there, but that's still what I'm shooting for. Between 12 and 1 is fine. That leaves me 5 more miles to Ethan Pond campsite, which also looks fairly level. I'm sure there are rocks and whatnot. I got a blow down here. You can see the tree across the trail, and that I could get over. It looks a little dicey though, but people have forged a path around it here, kind of, sort of. Geez, it doesn't look much easier this way. Any event, so it looks like, all in all, as far as the whites go, a relatively easy day. because I just got the one big climb out of the way, and everything else is smaller little climbs and lots of fairly level hiking like I just showed you. Weather's perfect. It's mostly overcast, very thin layer of clouds. The sun is peeking out, getting a little bit of sun, but it's kind of filtered through the hazy cloud layer. Cool, it's very nice, maybe 60 degrees, perfect for hiking. Bugs aren't too bad. And what else? They're calling for possible rain later today, which is why I really want to keep moving and get to the Ethan Pond campsite as early as I can. If the train is like this until Zealand Falls, I will be there by 11:30. I'll have some soup and bread and maybe a pastry or something, and then I'll push on, and hopefully I would be at the Ethan Pond campsite, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in there, mid to late afternoon. Be great if I get there before 3, because then that's early. I can get set up before the rains come, and just get an early night and get up early tomorrow. So, any event, things are going well today, and if I see anything cool, I'll share it with you. I'm hoping to see a moose. I've seen moose droppings. I've seen moose scat. The first day I was climbing the Kinsmans, I believe. Lots of moose scat along the sides of the trail. Have not seen any since. So I saw fresh moose scat and old moose scat. It's kind of like dog poop. You can tell if it's fresh or if it's been out there for weeks. So anyway, so I'd share that with you. So I'm up here above the alpine zone, and the trail goes right across this rocky pile of talus and boulders. So I'm gonna see, there's one of those wobblers I warned you about in an earlier episode. I'm gonna try one-handed here and show you. I'm just gonna cross these guys. I'm trying to find ones that are fairly flat and look fairly stable, like they're not gonna move around on me. Okay, and then the trail goes down that way. As you can see, it winds up, and it looks like it goes over that mountain, the green one in the mid distance, because there's a cairn on top. That's probably where I'm headed. A little chilly and windy, but beautiful view. Okay, I should have pointed this out before. I'm still crossing that rock field. And you'll notice some of the boulders, like this one right here, when I'm tapping, see how the top looks kind of a little bit rosy, kind of brown. That one too's got some brown. That's where people have stepped, and this one up on the peak of it, see how it's kind of worn and different colored. I use that as a guide to know, okay, someone has stepped there before, or a lot of people have stepped there, and they've worn off the top of that rock. They've worn the lichen or the minerals or whatever off. And so sometimes that's a good indicator of where to step, is to look for the rocks that look the most worn, because that means that's the one that people have used the most, which means it's probably your best option. So I just had my break. I'm in one of those areas where it's super quiet. Not even any birds, really. Just wind in the trees. No chipmunks scurrying around through the leaves. No squirrels. I can hear a few birds very faintly in the distance, but when you're so used to hearing constant sounds of the forest, and then it's just dead quiet, it's just eerie. And it's an eerie forest, as you can see. Lots of moss-covered logs, dead tree stumps and things. Even the trees are kind of scraggly looking. They're got these weird branches with moss hanging off them and growing on them, lichen or whatever it is. Just a weird environment. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. It just always amazes me when I get to an area like this and it's just like this spooky, quiet place, you know. Okay, I'm not going to film myself going down this because it's too dangerous. I need to use both my poles, but you can see they've built a wooden log ladder here. Looks like it's about 8 feet down. So I'm going to use my poles to help me kind of carefully balance my way down that. Boy, the trail in this section is solid rock. It's almost like a sidewalk. It's just smooth, solid rock. That's pretty cool. You're just walking on solid rock. Well, at least up to here. This is Zealand Falls. The water passes down this way, of course, going downhill. And somewhere down there is the Zealand Falls Hut that uses the water from these falls for hydroelectric power. So the trail continues right there. I'm going to head over that way and I should be at the hut momentarily. Okay, I'm just leaving Zealand Falls Hut where I had 2 bowls of lentil soup for lunch. It's very tasty. I almost went for a third. Would have been nice if they had some leftover bread. She said some other hikers, like 3 hikers came in yesterday and just ate them out of house and home practically. So there was no leftover bread to go with the soup. But I had 2 bowls. $2 for the first bowl, $1 for the second bowl, and any additional bowls. So I debated having a third bowl, but I thought, well, and sorry I haven't been getting like footage inside these huts. I'll have to do that at some point. But you know, there's paying guests there. It would be like walking into a hotel lobby and they just whip out your camera, starting to say, "So here I am in the Ritz-Carlton, and over here's the check-in desk," and over, you know. Guests would be like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" So I try to be, discreet and not obnoxious. So maybe I'll get to a hut and there won't be anybody around. It'll be, the people from the night before will have left, and the new people will have not arrived yet. So potentially I'll get there. Anyway, it's only 5 miles to the Ethan Pond campsite. And I asked the crew member who was there if, how the terrain was, because the profile looks fairly level with a very slight uphill grade for the last mile or two, but very gradual. And I said, "How is it? Is it easy? Is it real rocky?" And she goes, "No, it's a pretty easy walk." She said, overall it's not bad. So right now it's rocky, as you can see there. That's what I'm facing. But I'll get to the Ethan Pond campsite. It's only 5 miles over this kind of terrain. I should be there 3:30, 4 o'clock at the latest if I really take my time. And hopefully I'll beat the rain that they're forecasting potentially later today. So here I am. Let's go. So this is the start of the Ethan Pond Trail from Zealand Falls Hut, and I have to say, if the trail's like this the whole way, the next 4.8 miles, I will be there before 3 o'clock. This is easy walking. Here's where a tree went insane. This little nodule here that grew this crazy tangled bush of a mess of tree there. It's like a parasitic tree growing off of the other tree or something. That's really wild. So that is the view to my left. A cliff with lots of precarious looking rocks looking like they're ready to fall. And then below that, a big boulder field. And below that, the Appalachian Trail. And then below that, more of the boulders that have fallen down the cliff. So in other words, I am in a rock slide zone and I'm going to keep moving because I certainly don't want any of this nonsense coming down on my head. Not a bad place for a lunch spot. So I love this. Ethan Pond Shelter, 0.1. And then someone added on 4, 0.14. But the guidebook says 0.2. So it's somewhere between 0.1 and 0.2. Okay, once again, I'm on a tent platform and I want to show you how I set it up. So let's spin it around. So here's the platform. It is big enough for two two-person tents. Okay, so I've set up my tent down at this end with a trekking pole on either end to make it freestanding. So what I've done is I've tied my extra paracord through the little loop here that's on the little guy line. I brought it down, I wrapped it once around the eyelet, as you can see. Brought it around the corner, wrapped it once through this eyelet, back across to this eyelet. I wrapped it once around there, came up, went through this loop right here, brought it back down, wrapped it around a few times, and then tied it off. And then I could tighten up these on either end, and I was good to go. And as you can see, you know, the tent's not really going anywhere. Okay, and it's the same idea on this side. Same exact idea. So I just did it the other way because the rung is over here. So I went from right to left this time. Same idea. Run this all the way across, through here, back up, through the loop here, through that loop, back down, around several times, and tied it off. And again, you know, the tent's barely moving. I could even tighten this up further if I wanted to. I'm not going to, but now I can collapse those doors on that side so that someone else can come and put their tent in right here in this space. And I still, because I'm close enough to the ground, I can still stake out my door. So tonight, when I close it up, get the zipper going here. It'll look like that. I'll have a little bit of a overhang there over the edge of the platform. That'll just give me a little space to put a couple things like my shoes on this little ledge right here. Not much of a ledge, you know, I got about 6 inches there along the length there. I can put my shoes and bottle of water or something like that. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you again, just to drive home the point that you can fit a tent like this on some of these tent platforms. It's a pretty tight fit. I just barely fit. As you can see, I've got about 2 or 3 inches to spare on that side and about, you know, maybe 2 or 3 on this side. But, you know, the tent is fine. It's going to be good. It's nice and taut. As you can see, it looks like a normal tent setup. So I hope that was helpful for you. This is Jedi. I'm out here at Ethan Pond Campsite on the Appalachian Trail, showing you how to set up your tent on a tent platform.